welcome to Fearless DIY Music. My name is Tristan Lass, and today we're going to be taking a look at this Squier P-bass. A good friend of mine dropped this off for me to look at today. He bought it for $165 at an estate sale, or that was its origin. He bought it for, like I said, $165. It's a 1989. It is Korean made in one of the quote-unquote good factories of that era. And upon initial inspection, aside from the fact that the output jack is currently disconnected, this bass is in incredible condition and the neck is fully adjustable. So we're going to start by I'm going to do a truss rod adjustment on this, set the relief, and then I'll just talk as I go through the bass and change the strings, buff the frets, fix that jack, and we just kind of clean it up and have it ready for him to play. So, let's take a look here. I'm going to fret at the 1st and the 12th and see what we got. I'm just going to tighten up the truss rod just probably, let's see. How far do I want to go? First of all, truss rod moves very easily. That was a very healthy quarter turn. Let's see what we got now. Of course, we want to not go too far because we know that the neck will take a minute to catch up with the adjustment. I'm going to give it another little turn. Not quite as crazy as the first. So much easy movement there. And spring tension holding in my Allen wrench. All right. So I've got the neck set about where I want it, just a hair of relief. The neck is straight. And so now we are going to get rid of these bass strings. The tuners on this are typical of the era. They've got a little wiggle. They are not the best quality. I'm going to probably open those up and just make sure everything's tight. Do a little oil in there. Oh yeah. This is just standard issue for that era. Now I'm just gonna cut these. These strings are who knows how old. Get those out of the way. I think we're gonna start, since our neck is good and all we have to really deal with at this point, the nut is good as well. I did check that off camera. And the nut is just cut perfectly, which I don't know if that was adjusted after the fact. Gotta throw those strings over there for now. I don't know if that was adjusted at some point in the bass's life, but the nut looks good. It is as it should be. I'm hoping that when I crack open this pick guard, things are as they should be there as well, except for that jack, so that I don't end up going down a rabbit hole of soldering. So, I'm gonna get a little parts bin here for these screws. And yes, unless you're super precious or you're just super paranoid, using a drill to remove pickguard screws is just fine, in my opinion. Leave a comment if you think that I'm daft for doing so. Alright, and for the purpose of this video, if I was sitting around twisting a screwdriver for 15 minutes, I think that everybody would be even more bored than they already are with this. Oh. I can have a problem one? Nope. All right. There we go. All we should have is a ground wire attached to the bridge. You have, and then, okay, there's our issue right there. So we just need to strip that. This does have a little, I don't know if you, hopefully the camera can catch some of that. Has a little crappy mini pot. he and I, the owner of this bass, he and I discussed it. We are probably going to eventually do like a full upgrade on everything on this, because the body and the neck are actually becoming highly desirable from this era, this factory, this year. So this is a platform that we'll be building upon in the future. For now, we just want to get it up and playing for him. He just bought it yesterday, and he'd sure like to take it home and plug it in. Hopefully I have enough wire to play with here. Okay. Do I have enough wire to play with here? This is awfully tight. I don't even know if I can get my... There we go. Alright, got it. Got my soldering iron already on. But pretty... Gonna reflow it. Connect it. I'll test it real quick. Alright, we are connected. I just did a quick reflow there. Nothing fancy. Given the fact, more than likely, in a few months, I'll be putting a Seymour Duncan bass line in this along with some CTS pots. We'll do an orange drop capacitor, switchcraft, the whole nine. Alright, I am going to disappear off camera for a second, fire up an amp so that I can plug this in real quick and make sure that it works. Okay. My cable, of course, is not stretching. Sounds like we got sound in here. This is a little ridiculous. Okay. Let me see if I've got a longer cable. Is one longer, or is it the same? It's the same. Alright. Try something different here. I know this is scintillating content. Oh, is that on? Oh, all right. Please work this time. Nope. Oh. All right, there we go. Now I should be able to reach. Hopefully you can hear that buzzing. Okay, that's because of my soldering iron. Turn the soldering iron off and test the pickup. Here's the tone pot. Works, but it doesn't have much range. All right, well, we have electronics. That's all that matters. Just a quick tap test there, because I don't want to go through all this work and then end up with stuff not working. All right, soldering iron's off. We've got our pick guard ready to reinstall. And we're just going to go around and put all these screws in. And then we will inspect the machine heads. After that, we will buff the frets, put strings on, and check the intonation. By my guess, will be, hopefully, not too far off. Kind of hard to talk in between putting all these screws in, but this is just what you have to do when you're doing this kind of work. And like I said, I didn't do anything fancy on that jack. I just reattached it was the live wired come loose. My guess, I should probably check that for tightness. Actually, that's really tight. My guess is at some point that nut backed off and the jack got spun around, and the wire broke. And then that's probably why this bass was left untouched for a long time. Because if you don't have electronics, you're not going to play your bass. God, I love P-basses. They're so easy to work on. They're so modifiable. And just the tone. I mean, all of my basses are basically P-bass platforms. My prize bass being my 76 Precision. That will be on camera at some point. I've actually spent more of my playing career as a bass player than as a guitarist. I share something in common with Phil Knight on that one, who's also a bass player slash guitarist. I started off as a guitar player, but found that I could make more money with bass gigs. And a good friend of mine, Kevin, gave me a 76 P-bass a long, long time ago, 25 years ago about. I still have that bass. That's my main instrument. Anyway, okay, what did I say I was going to do next? Let's look at these machine heads and see just how janky and awful they are. These are those, I think these are, yeah, they're plastic covers on just inexpensive tuners. And the screws, thankfully, little parts bin again. The screws, thankfully, appear to be coming out easily. I want to take these covers off just to see, or take this cover off just to see if it's worth me going through the rest of them. I think that for sure we'll be putting some proper precision bass tuners on this down the road. The bass is worth it. Oh, yikes. Yeah. And we can oil those. They work. Anything. Have screws in here that are adjustable that I can tighten. They do. I think, unfortunately, I am going to just go ahead, do this right as I need to for this kind of instrument, or these kind of machine heads. Just make sure those screws are tight in there. I'm going to use lube using ATF fluid. This is just a great all-purpose lube, safe for plastic because there's plastic parts in transmissions. For things like this that you're not going to really see, and just a little bit of lube. Make sure that the screw is tight on the gear, on the gear that meshes with the worm gear. Just making sure that's tight against the shaft. And that sounded kind of dirty. Everybody likes it tight around the shaft. But anyway, oh geez, I'm gonna lose my PG rating now. I'm gonna go through and do the rest of these, because if I did one, I gotta do the rest. Of course, trying to get those little tiny screws out of there is kind of a pain in the butt. And we'll just do the rest of these and move on to buffing frets. I got to think about some crap to talk about while I'm buffing frets, because that's just going to be a long slog to get to. You know what? I might stop the camera during that process and then move on to the restring and setup, because I don't know if anybody wants to watch me buff frets. Maybe I'll let it run. Maybe I'll just see what happens. I've had some requests for these types of videos where, you know, I'm at the bench or doing something, you know, and it's not just me talking while not doing anything other than maybe playing a little bit. So I'm doing this for you, those people who have mentioned that in the comments section. I'm paying attention to you. I care about your input. That one's good. It's really that G. Lube, It's really that G that seems to be completely kind of whack. Oh, great. Whew. For a second there, I was like, oh man, case came completely off. It's not going to go back on. So I don't want to have too much time wasting moments in this video. I mean, this is going to be a long one. That's just what it is. It'd be like if you came in here to the shop and you just wanted to hang out for an hour and watch me work on a cool vintage Squier bass, you know. And that's just what you're getting. You don't want to watch this and turn it off, you know. But if you're interested, who knows what I'll say? Who knows what I'll think of? You know, got a wide-ranging imagination. But yeah, these machine heads have to. We're gonna, of course, the diameter of the holes is just not going to be compatible with real precision tuners. So we're gonna have to definitely ream those out, make them the right size. That can be a dicey proposition. I've only broken one headstock in my life. I talked about it in my 12-string acoustic video. Old Ibanez Performer, acoustic, 12-string. I drilling out holes for new tuners on it, and I snapped the headstock on it. And I've never let that happen again. I certainly won't let it happen to a customer instrument. Alright, let's tighten this up a little bit. It's that G though, it's bad. Huh? Bad? They're actually loose where the machine stamped it in. And there's nothing I can do about that. I mean, there is. I could sit there and try to beat on it with a hammer or something to try to tighten it up a little bit. You know, I've always found that the law of diminishing returns when you try to really spruce up cheap tuners, it's not worth it. So not worth it. So much better just to buy better ones. You know, you don't have to go crazy with buying the most expensive or whatever. Oh, come on. Now I'm going to start running into trouble putting screws in. Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt too, because these tuners, for how crappy they are in principle. I mean, these are functional tuners, but as far as their design and how they were manufactured, these are crappy tuners. And the fact that you've got to remove 4 minuscule screws to get these damn things off, or to get the back off, to be able all I'm doing is just putting a little squirt of lube on there and making sure that the screw's tight. This is a lot of effort for very little reward. But at least we'll know that nothing's dry. And if he ends up rolling with these for an extended period of time, at least he'll know, yeah, these are just loose by just how they're made. But since we've done 3, we'll do the 4th and move on. For buffing the frets, I'm going to use my fast and dirty method, which is, no, I'm not going to use steel wool directly onto the fingerboard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take blue painter's tape, and I'm going to put a piece on either side of each fret and just move the same pieces of tape down the neck as I buff. I'm going to put about, well, since I kind of play drums, and I do play drums as well as guitar and bass, I just do a count. I count to 4 times, and then that's the fret is buffed. So I will be doing that however many frets this has, 21 frets, I believe. And it won't take long. Then we'll put strings on it, tune it, check the intonation. That should be it. I mean, we'll clean it up a little bit more before we put the strings on. And I need to remember, see if I remember, catch this in the video. Will I put blue tape over the pickup to keep steel wool debris from getting into it? I don't really care that much with this thing because I know that pickup is not going to be in there forever. But nobody likes to look down and see steel wool shavings. Oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? steel wool shavings on their pickup pole pieces. Like I said, you know, this is super incredibly interesting content. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to worry about. That looks like the I do have something of note though to show you. Looks like the strap buttons are on tight. I don't have to worry about that. I mean, there's so few parts on a P-bass. There's just not much. And if these had just one screw or open backs on them, I would have been done 10 minutes ago with this crap. All right, that improved basically nothing, but at least I feel better having done it. If you look, I don't know if you can see with the camera, and I am hitting my overhead light, this neck plate is not straight. The neck is straight. The neck is straight in the body. The bridge lines up. There's no issues there. But when they drilled the holes from behind and then slapped the plate on, it's all crooked. It's crazy. I checked it with the straight edge, and I'll do that real quick. Running the straight edge off this one, it shoots off into space away from the neck, and this one shoots into the neck. And, you know, when they moved from Japan to Korea with Squier, it was expected that there would be some quality control issues like that. It's just par for the course. All right, while I have my multi-tool out, let's take a look here and see if anything else needs tightening. I feel like that needs tightening. No string ferrules underneath that. Tighten that down so we don't rattles. Not that we would, the string tension would hold it, but we're here. We'll do it. I'm going to check bridge. Dump the screws on the bridge. I mean, you kind of expect that too over time. Wood shrinks. Nobody's probably ever done this in the last 35 years to this bass. It's just checking the bridge screws. Those are nice and tight. We got electronics that function. We have machine heads that are now oiled and have been fully inspected. I mean, I'm going to clean it after I do my buffing. Like I said, I'm not, these frets don't have any wear on them. They're just dirty. Otherwise, I would consider, you know, the full polish where I run, hey, look, I'm taping up my pickups, where I would run 600 to 1500 to 2000 grit sandpaper and then hit it with steel wool. These frets don't need that because there's really no bite anywhere in those frets, but they are sinfully dirty. Can't sin, but they are dirty. So, super simple. Rather than, I have a little homemade, you know, fret protector. I use that sometimes if I'm just doing a single fret or two, just to throw on, and I don't feel like getting tape on things. But for this job, I'm just gonna jog my tape down and buff frets. See how it goes. Just using ultra fine steel wool. I take that back. There is a little bit, there's a couple little notches in there, but nothing terrible. Not even catching my thumbnail. We'll consider that down the road. For now, we're okay. I mean, if we really wanted to do this bass up, which, you know, I think it'd be worth it in the long run, especially if we upgrade bridge and the tuners and the electronics. You know, doing a refret on this would be easy. And we could put some more robust frets on it. These frets, tiny, very small frets for a bass. Once again, part of that cost cutting, you know, the era of cost cutting has never ended since the late 60s, you know. It's just, Fender gets acquired, Gibson loses its way. Middle of the 70s, everything is quote-unquote trash. The Japanese stuff is better. It's interesting, somebody left a comment about a month and a half ago. They were kind of dogging on my Epiphone, my black Epiphone Les Paul, which I love, saying, looks just like the trash that we had in the 70s from Japan. And I'm like, dude, the stuff from the 70s in Japan is way better than the stuff made in America. I wouldn't want a Norland Les Paul. And I'd take a 70s Strat, but Strats are easy. You can fix anything on a Strat. You can just refret it, repaint it, whatever you want to do to it. But yeah, I just thought that was hilarious. He's calling all the Japanese stuff is just, it's just trash. It's like, no, they had something to prove. And I feel like that, Korea got to that point too, where they felt like they had something to prove, where the Korean guitars were really good. I mean, this is an early Korean guitar. So there are parts of it that are great, like the machining on the neck and the body. The neck and the body are fine. These, like I said, the frets leave a little bit to be desired, just as far as what materials they chose to use. But the neck itself is great. I mean, it's got full adjustability and just straight as an arrow. Looks great. But where they cheesed it was, all the components. Mini pods. It's got the crappy output jack. Actually, swap the tape over because now I'm losing my stick a little bit. Then I reverse which side I'm putting the tape on, and I should be able to get close to the end without having to change my tape, if not get through the whole thing. And like I said, if these frets were wider, more robust, I'd be like, you know what? And it doesn't have any high frets or any issues with, playability. So I'm not going to go into the whole super polish or leveling thing with this, but it's just screaming for some better frets. I would love to refret this. Really nice fret. And I probably will someday. This is, like I said, a good friend of mine's instrument. I worked on his Oscar Schmidt, but he has other stuff too I'll be working on. I guess I should explain something about the shop. Anybody's still watching, I highly doubt it. Anybody who actually watches this whole thing will get lots of information. So, my shop is no longer open to the public. I found that after my son was born, and I'm the stay-at-home parent, I found that after my son was born, coordinating, and I was by appointment only. Anyway, but by appointment only, trying to coordinate customers with my life was weird. And then the other thing that got weird is that, I started getting people in here that wanted to hang out and bullshit with me. And some of them were, I don't want to say they were like totally sketchy, but it's just like, no, dude. Or dudette, or player, let's just call them players. All these players coming in and wanting to hang out and just talk and bend my ear or fuss over a job already done that I'm just like, hey man, or hey whoever, you paid me. I will say this. The people who were the biggest pain in my butt were always men. So I don't feel bad about saying that. Anyway, so I'd have these people in here and they're talking to me or they're fussing over the job. An hour goes by and I'm just like, and I charged back then $75 an hour, and I'm like, that's $75 out of my pocket, And I don't know if I want you in my shop. My shop is not in a commercial space. I'll just say that. I don't want to be talking about my domicile. But anyway, And I'm just like, I don't want you here. So I closed down, and now her friends and former colleagues, they want to send me something, or, you know, the people I know who are local, who are players, they want some extra special care for their instruments or a favor. You know, my friend who I'm doing this bass for is somebody I've known for a very long time, very dear friend, and he's, you know, getting back into playing a little bit, and it's super exciting to watch. And, you know, I encouraged him to buy this bass, and, you know, I'm like, hey, he's like, well, you know, I don't know if it needs work, and I was just like, you know, dude, you never have to worry about the work. Just buy it and bring it to me, which he did this morning, and we'll get it up and running. Of course, you know, and down the road, we can make this into a killer bass. Because, you know, it's a great platform. You know, the neck, like I said, the neck and the body are great. Brown tortoise pick guard is what he's thinking. I think that's a great choice for the black. I think that would look killer. And we just, you know, put new pots in it, and new jack. Seymour Duncan bass line, which is my pickup of choice in a P-bass for sure. Tell me in the comments, if you are watching this, what your P-bass pickup of choice would be. You were going to upgrade this bass. Like I said, kind of can't go wrong with the good old Duncan bass line. That's what I have in my 76 P-bass. I stupidly, on that P-bass, I replaced the pickup, and I took the old pickup and I threw it in the garbage. Not even thinking, you know, not even thinking about it. Thing was shorted out. It had a broken wire on one of the coils. I was just like, this thing's a piece of shit. I'm gonna get rid of it, and I threw it out. That was like 25 years ago. Before, you know, 25 years ago, or 20 years ago. Let's go back 20. 70s stuff. You know, the 60s stuff was definitely that was popping. As far as the vintage market, it was like, oh man, if you had a mid 60s bass or a mid 60s anything, like early 60s anything, of course. Further back, those were already just hot. But 70s, oh man, that stuff was just trash, you know. I didn't think anything of taking a 1976 P-bass pickup and just throwing it right in the garbage. Didn't even think twice about it. Just, yep, I'm done. I'm done with that. I think that I'm almost done with that piece of steel wool. I'll keep that around. I don't like throwing stuff away. I'll keep that around in case I need a little scrap or something. All right, I'm using the tape kind of pick up some of the steel wool debris, and we're going to clean that really well before we take off the tape on the pickups. I do have a wastebasket. It's not there. I'm just throwing crap on the floor because I'm trying not to waste too much time with stuff. All right, before I put any cleaner or anything on it, just do this. Get all that steel wool dust off. Okay. Got a little bit on my carpet here. Scoop this and get that. You know, I'll clean up after the video. Normally I work a lot slower and a lot cleaner than this. I'm one of those people that when I cook dinner, I wash the dishes as I'm going. It's just how I work. But I am going to hang up the tools I don't need. Shouldn't need that. Shouldn't need this. All right. We're buffed. I use this ATF fluid too, and people are going to scream about this. I use it on my nuts. My nut lube. Good enough for a transmission. It's good enough for some strings. So, yep, I rock ATF fluid for that purpose. All right, I'm using my Wisner's cleaner. I don't even know if they make this stuff anymore. Wisner. Smells great. I think that's why I use it. We had that at the music store I worked at. And just the smell of it, it's fantastic. It's like vanilla and it's just smells like cake. I'm not obsessed with cake, I swear. But anyway, love this polish. Never had it damage a vintage finish or anything like that. This fretboard, remarkably clean. I mean, this bass has some miles on it, but for its age, it doesn't have many. Like I said, just judging by, I mean, there's a minuscule amount of fret wear on there, and like it's not even catching my thumbnail. All right. Considering there will be more work done to this in the future, like I said, I'm not going too nuts with it. My friend is a pretty handy person. I didn't even need my solder; it just reflowed. He knows his way around some tools and how to clean stuff himself, but I'm doing this all as a courtesy, just because this is the bare minimum stuff I would do to anybody's instrument if it comes into the shop. Moving the nut, cleaning it up. All right, I'm gonna mark there. I used my calipers. I'm not going to bother getting that out. I used my calipers to check the strings. I am matching the string gauge. There were 105s on this, so 105s shall go back on it. So that is what it is used to. And my friend is a relative newbie, or he is a newbie to bass. I don't want to kill him with 110s. Or the 115s like I used to use. Alright, let's ditch the glove. We shouldn't have anything else to take apart. Let's get rid of this tape. Yay! There's no crap on there. I can tell you right now, before I do anything else, these pickups are just not properly at all. They're low in the center. Oh, all the more reason to. Oh, that one's stripped. I've got an issue there. Try a bigger bit in it. That one will bite. Bite. Yeah, because the pickups are just kind of ridiculous here. There we go. I'm really having that. Because you want them high in the center. Go with the fretboard radius. I guess I should check the fretboard radius since I'm setting the bridge and stuff. Alright, I think we have a decent setup there. Let's go ahead and get out a radius gauge. Anybody want to guess? I'm guessing it's going to be a 9.5. No. No. It's not a 7.25. It's not a 9.5. Are we at 10? No. At 12. Yes. So it's a 12. I will have to make sure that bridge is right. I'm going to go ahead, put this forward a little bit. I hope everybody can kind of see or is getting a gist of what I'm doing. I don't have an overhead cam. Don't know if I ever will. I'm afraid that if I did, it would make me jittery, and my ceiling is like a foot above my head in here. So I just don't think that's going to happen. This is about as good as it's going to get. And now I lost my train of thought. All right, I don't need that anymore. What I was going to do is now I'm going to lube all these little grub screws on the bridge saddles. We're going to be adjusting those shortly. Okay. I'll let that kind of just drool down. All right, we're ready for strings. Finally, we got there. Put some strings on this thing. If I'm going to hit my goal, I was hoping that this video would be about an hour long. All right. I think I will be close to being at an hour. Depends on how long bridge adjustment takes. Okay, what do we have here? These are just trash tuners. All right, these are the kind where you just put it through the slot and then hope for the best. Yeah, I remember these things. Ugh. I had a PV Fury that I think had these exact same tuners on it, and I think even though I was relatively inexperienced, I knew enough even back then, where I was like 1991 or 92. I was like, yeah, those gotta go. Have enough. All right. I'm just looking to get a general idea here of what I'm up against with that bridge, with those bridge saddles. See here, I need to find the proper Allen for that. Probably a slightly larger one, huh? Bingo, first try. Now, what I do on Fender saddles is I get them perfectly level, and I stair step them and keep them perfectly level between themselves. I don't angle them. I don't have one grub screw longer than the other. I keep them identical. I think, in my opinion, that keeps your string very stable and just there's no wonkiness there. It's just a straight line, and that's what you want. And then you adjust both screws to get it up and down where it needs. My opinion. There are some people who will argue with that, I'm sure. Now on tellies that have 3 bridge saddles, that is a whole different story. Which is why I advised compensated saddles. All right, I think I got to get the rest of the strings on before I can start messing with anything else. Because the neck on this, the strings are as much a part of it as the truss rod in putting it where it needs to be. I don't want to sit here beating on it with all kinds of rattle all over the place until that's what we're stuck with doing. Hey, that's the first time I dropped something. That's crazy. Usually I'm dropping stuff left and right. Which is another reason why I've been reluctant. It's not I've been reluctant. I didn't have the camera. I didn't have the camera to do this angle until recently. So, alright, let's get a decent wind on this one. Yeah, without that middle part, you know, there's usually a hole, you know, that you can put string down into at least a little bit sometimes. Split tuners, these don't have that. Some P-bass tuners don't. I think most P-bass tuners don't have that either. I'm trying to remember. I restring my basses so infrequently. But yeah, these are just, but this particular tuner is just a real pain. These new strings are going to make a huge difference. See if I can get a There we go. That A definitely tension on. All right. Go ahead. Am I going to be brave here? Brave. Top those bad boys off. All right, 2 more strings to go. Make sure I'm putting them on in the right order, huh? But yeah, really all that's left now. We'll get these last 2 strings on. I'm going to check the intonation. I'm going to check the action. And just go from there. Oh, do these have? Oh. I'm a fool. These do have the... They have the detente hole. Alright, well that's good news though. I don't mind backtracking for that. I didn't think it was there. It is there. And that is great news for my friend. That crap. Alright, so I take it back. Do I still think these are good tuners? No. They're awful. Awful tuners. But I am very grateful that I just, because I wasn't like looking directly straight down on it. Now that I've got a good bird's eye view. Alright. Easy fix. Easy fix. And it shows once again, you know, when you're doing this stuff, sometimes if you make an assumption, you're just going to be wrong. Always double check things. Luckily, like I said, I caught it in time, and it's not like I had cut these strings some weird length. They're actually still perfect. And no harm, no foul. Still in business. But I did just add at least 2 minutes to the video. I don't know, I guess they're watch hours, right? By the way, thanks to everybody. I mean, if you're watching this at this point, you are probably subscribed. Curious about what kind of crazy shit I might say. But if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit like and share and all that good stuff. And I'm eternally grateful to all the people who have been active enough to do so far. I feel like I haven't come across anybody in the comments section or in the community in general thus far that I feel like, oh, that makes me feel icky or something. I mean, there's been some interesting stuff, but nothing. I mean, it's all been like, you know, most of it's turned into conversation. I don't know why I was trying to twist that. Like I was just doing. I think I was trying to look at the camera. I know that there's been almost no eye contact, but I mean, you'd expect that, right? I'm working on an instrument. I shouldn't be looking at you people, looking at what in the hell I'm trying to do. All right, that bridge saddle is back. It is all over the map. That side. These, the bridge, once again, too, that one's great, is in remarkably good shape. All things considered. Bump that up. I'm trying to go with that 12 radius here. I can kind of eyeball it. All right, let's tune these. We have an E. We have a D. Okay. And the saddle's properly String spacing. The distance between the E and the A is a little big. When we do upgrades, may consider cutting a new nut for this. That just doesn't, I mean, it doesn't, it's not a deal breaker by any stretch. It didn't affect playability too much, but it's not right. I'll tell you that. A big pile of trash going over there. I mean, that's just the cost of doing business. When you're working on an instrument, you're going to have a big pile of stuff left over. I'm using an old school, older, that's too much string. I'm using an older snark tuner. Do this basic part here. I am probably just going to use the snark. Actually, I could get out. I don't have a strobe tuner handy. Once again, doing this backwards. I would have to run to get that. I'll probably just use the snark. You know, I've intonated a lot of instruments, and had just fine results with it. It depends on the snark, though. You know, I find that the older ones just seem so much more stable and very reliable. And I always double check with it. I mean, later on, I'll double check with the strobe on this to make sure it's right, or completely right. But I'm sure this will get us there. I just don't want to get murdered in the comments for like, this guy's intonating a guitar with a snark tuner. Well, you can. Not the end of the world. All right, tuning it up. Ooh, that looks good. Okay. Look at the action. We can come down a little bit on the low E for sure. I don't want to go down too crazy. I don't want to get the rattles. I'm checking once again to make sure it's perfectly straight. Take a look. I'll come down a little bit more. And I'm just going to check that string and use it as my reference point for the rest. All right. It's still playing clean. I am going to drop it just a hair more, and that's it. I think a bass should be very playable, but it shouldn't be a mile above the fretboard either. All right, let's check that. That's clean. Clean as a whistle. Since I've already done the fret rocking and all that stuff, if I just play in a couple spots, I know that it's going to play up and down the neck. I mean, there's no rattle. There's no rattle. I mean, the rattle's coming from me hitting it too hard, but there's no rattle. That's beautiful. You couldn't ask for any better than that. And then I will go through and I will adjust the rest of them. All right, that's good. And clean as a whistle again. All right. Down. And like I said, I could get out some gauges and do some stuff like that. But honestly, I mean, you can look at your strings, just sighting it like that, and you'll know. And then do the old 12th fret. do the old 12th fret test just to see, you know, how much distance there is between the string and the fret and you're home. Actually, that's a little too low on that one. Oh, it's because that one side was down. Wow. Well, that was easy. All right, action is set. I'll keep that Allen wrench out. I will probably play this for a bit before I give it back to my friend. We're at an hour. We'll plug it in here in a second, but first I'm going to check the intonation. So I've set the action. I set the action before I set the intonation. Because I feel like the string should be where it's going to live as close as possible before I'm going to mess with the intonation. To do the intonation, the neck is no longer supported by anything. I have it up on my block. It is floating. Let's put it up against the backstop there. So, that's dead on, according to Snark. A is dead on, according to Snark. D, I like that D is a little too flat. So we will shorten it up. And see what happens. So if you're sharp in intonation, you move your saddle back to increase the string length. If you are flat, you decrease string length by loosening the screw and moving the saddle forward. All right, it's still reading a little flat on initial hit, so I'm just gonna pop that up a little bit more. Let's see what happens. Up. There we go. Our D is in. Up to the G. In. So, Korean made Squier bass, 1989. Made in one of the good factories. Super cool bass. Like I said, with a few upgrades, we will really have something here. So, leave the tuner on there. I'm going to go off camera for 1 second and go pop that amp back on. And we'll just take a quick listen to it just to make sure that it still works. And then I'm out of here. Also, if you enjoyed this content, let me know in the comments. I am planning to do more videos like this where I just have a cool instrument that I do this to. I did a full setup, restring, clean, butt the frets, and fix the output jack. So, here we go. Scratchy pots. I should have deoxed them while I was in there. But it works. And I will have to crack this back open and deox those. That sucks. But that's the repair game. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time from the bench. Bye-bye.